Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me today. So, today's wellness webinar, we will be discussing how you can stay healthy over this festive period. So, just a bit about what I will be talking through today. So, I've split it into four different sections. So, we've got food, hydration and alcohol consumption, staying active, and then sleep. And then there's a bit of a summary slide at the end. So, firstly, we will start with food. As we know, Christmas is a time for enjoying ourselves, meeting up with friends and family, and food does tend to be a big part of this. So, when I go through the slides, it's just sort of things to be mindful of. Obviously, Christmas is a time for indulgence, but it's just making those little swaps and tips where we can. So, linking into that, did you know that in fact the average person consumes around 7,000 calories on Christmas Day? So this is almost three times, or more than three times, the amount that a woman should consume each day, and over double a man. So lots of different yummy foods that we will be consuming on Christmas Day. So then what we've done is just split it out into some tips for when you're out enjoying yourselves. Obviously, you're more likely to be socializing with friends, family, work events. So I've just put together some tips to bear in mind. So if you're going to a Christmas party or going out for some drinks, try and have a high protein filling snack before you go. So this will prevent you wanting to snack during the day, and when you're at the event, and help to keep you a bit fuller, so you're not sort of craving any food that might be there, such as chips or things like that. If you're taking food to an event, perhaps you're going to a dinner and you're all taking a dish, try and take something a bit healthier so that then at least you know there will be one nutritious option available. And canapes around this time of year, lots of people like to have little light bites and nibbles available when we go for drinks. Just watch out for these, because even though they are very small, we can end up actually eating a lot more than we need, which is why we end up consuming more calories. And then lastly, the buffet table. This can be a really nice addition to an event, but try and stand a bit further away from it so you're not just tempted to snack as you go. So you've got to make that conscious effort to go over to the table to pick up what you want. So what about when you are at home? So looking at the Christmas Day meal, but these can be applied to any of the meals in the festive period. So we tend to consume a lot of excess fat, just because of the type of foods that we're eating. So one of the things you could do is remove the skin from your turkey. Pigs in blankets, very high in saturated fat and also salt, because they contain sausages and also bacon. Could you skim the fat off the top of the gravy? If you're doing a cheese board, you could swap one or two of the cheeses out for a low fat cheese. And then where it's practically possible, could you be using a lower fat cream? The taste will still be the same, but often that's just a good swap that you can make that no one will really notice. Also, try and stick to having regular times and avoid grazing throughout the day. I know that can be challenging with Christmas. Normally our fridges are a bit more full, and we've got lots of food on hand. So do try and stick to those regular meal times where possible. And linking to that, try not to snack during meals, especially on unhealthy sweet treats. We're likely to have things like gingerbread, mince pies, all the yummy chocolates, but do try and just minimize snacking between meals, because also these might make you feel more full. And then when you do get to your meal time, you may not eat enough of your nutritious meal. Another tip that you can use, so when you are cooking at home, you could use slightly smaller plates so you're not tempted to fill up a larger plate. People can always go back for seconds and they have that choice to go and add more food to their plate, but using a slightly smaller plate can help in the beginning. Also, try and fill up your plate with things like vegetables first, and then add your protein and your carbs afterwards. Always making sure that we're sort of having a third of our plate vegetables, a third carbohydrates, and then a smaller section for protein. So then what I've done is I've just put together some healthier food ideas. I didn't want to sit on this webinar and give you really unrealistic food choices. We know that Christmas is a time for indulging. We like to eat more and perhaps treat ourselves a bit more. So I just put together some ideas that are small swaps. So I mentioned canapes. A lot of canapes tend to be very have pastry as their base. Could you do something such as a lean protein and vegetables? So an example of this could be a chicken meatball with some basil and roasted red pepper, or some roasted salmon on rye bread. A lot of people like to cook a ham over Christmas, which can be delicious, but ham can be very high in sugar and also very high in salt. So on the flip side of that, turkey has very little sugar, and also it's lower in salt and saturated fat as well. So that could be a swap for your centerpiece. Then cauliflower cheese is often a popular accompaniment for a roast, but cauliflower cheese again can be very high in saturated fat. So could you ditch the cheese and instead roast the cauliflower with lots of yummy herbs and spices so that it's still nice and flavorful, but it's just lower in saturated fat. A lot of people like to roast their potatoes in goose fat or lots of butter. Could we still be having roasted potatoes, but perhaps only use a small amount of oil? So something like a rapeseed oil or olive oil. So they are lower in fat and higher in unsaturated fat, which is really good to help maintain your heart health. And adding some garlic or some herbs could also add a nice flavour there. And then a trifle, often an alternative to a Christmas pudding. Trifle tends to be very high in sugar, but could you swap to a sugar-free jelly, maybe using a low-fat custard or Greek yogurt instead of whipped cream, to still have that trifle and still have that sweetness at the end of the meal, but just a slightly healthier version. So hopefully they're all healthier food ideas that you can maybe apply to some of your meals across the festive period. Another thing we can look at doing whilst eating, and not just at Christmas time, but all year round, is practicing mindful eating. So this is essentially where we make our bodies really aware of the food that we're putting inside ourselves. So it's all about knowing the whole process of the food. So making sure that you listen to your body's hunger and fullness cues, and really just taking time to enjoy that meal. So often around Christmas time and over the festive period, we find ourselves very busy, perhaps trying to eat a meal on the go, but really taking time to sit down with the family, eat slowly, and just enjoy that experience of all being together and all celebrating. Also linked with mindful eating is making sure you use all your senses. So making sure that you enjoy the experience of eating more. So not just how the food tastes, but how does it smell? How does it look? So making all your senses aware for that. So next I have a bit about hydration and alcohol. So just a bit about making sure that we stay hydrated over this festive period. So fluids are essential for our bodily functions. So this includes things like temperature regulation, removing waste products, and also keeping the digestive system healthy. So over Christmas, we might be going for more Christmas drinks, drinking more alcohol, but it's good to remember that the recommended amount to drink is 14 units of alcohol a week. So that should be split over 3 or more days. So just to put that into context, that's about 6 pints of beer or 6 medium glasses of wine. Alcohol is a diuretic, so it can exacerbate your chances of being dehydrated. So that's just something to be mindful of there if you are drinking alcohol. Also, alcohol is slowly metabolized by the liver. So a healthy liver can only process about 1 drink an hour. So if you are having an evening of drinking, that's just something to be mindful of, that the liver can only process 1 an hour. On the screen, I just thought I would put together some popular festive drinks, the average calories in each drink, and also the units so you can see. So obviously we don't want to be having more than 14 units of alcohol a week, ideally. So you can see there that your espresso martini has 155 calories and 1.5 units. A medium glass of mulled wine has 161 calories and 2.3 units. 50 ml of Baileys, which is a very popular evening drink, is 157 calories and zero point 0.8 units. And then 250 mils of mulled cider is 150 calories and 1.3 units. So just a few drinks to be aware of there. So then what should we be watching out for when we're trying to stay hydrated over the festive period? So it's worth noting that even though the weather is a lot colder, we still need to make sure we're drinking fluids. A lot of people tend to drink more in the summer because they're sweating lots and they're trying to replace the liquid that they're losing. But in winter, we still need to be making sure that we keep our hydration levels topped up. So with Christmas comes a lot of the high calorie drinks, which can be nice to treat ourselves every once in a while, but try not to be having them every day. So these are things that may have lots of added sugar and fat, which you might not be aware of. So drinks like hot chocolates, perhaps adding cream and marshmallows. Could you ask for it without those or only have them like on occasion? Things like eggnog lattes and all the flavored lattes, and then also alcohol-free mocktails as well. These often tend to be quite high in sugar. So although they're alcohol-free, often they have a lot of sugar in. So just something to be mindful of there. Also, just keep an eye on how much you're drinking. So why not swap an alcoholic drink for an alcohol-free option? There are lots more drinks available now, not only in supermarkets, but also when you're out in bars, pubs, and restaurants. So why not experiment and try a different alcohol-free option in between your alcoholic drinks and see if you find a few that you enjoy. Another thing to be aware of is drinking lots of caffeine. So we might find that we're a bit more stressed, trying to work a bit harder over Christmas, sort of really busy going from work to different events to seeing people. So you might be reaching for a coffee to sort of keep yourself awake. But caffeine is a diuretic like alcohol, and consuming caffeine too close to bedtime can keep you awake at night. So just something to be aware of there. And we still want to be trying to drink about 1.5 to 2 litres of fluids a day. So what are some things you can do to make sure you're staying hydrated? So you could be alternating between your alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks, and also use the colour of your urine to monitor your hydration levels. So you can see from the chart on the screen, you've got good hydration all the way down to severe dehydration. You want to be aiming for about a pale straw colour, so that's about number 3. Otherwise, you should get some fluids on board quite quickly, because if you're dehydrated, it can lead to you struggling to concentrate, feeling more lethargic, a bit irritable. So those are all things that we want to avoid. Can you carry a reusable water bottle with you to stay hydrated? Also, keeping a jug of water on the table over meals is also another good way to prompt people to have a sip of water, and then also trying to avoid sugary, high-calorie drinks. So next, I've just got a bit about staying active. Often when we're really busy over the festive period, being active is the first thing to go. Perhaps we're not able to make our gym session in the morning because we've had a late night the night before, or we're just really tired from all the festivities going on, all the planning. Perhaps you're organising Christmas shopping and you're not able to get active. So that's why I just thought I'd put this section in there. We've spoken about food and consuming excess calories. So just to put it into perspective, a mince pie contains about 250 calories and a 30-minute brisk walk burns about 150 calories. So that's just something to look at there. I just thought that's quite an interesting statistic. So then why do we want to be trying to stay active? So it's really good for our mental health. So it can help to improve our mood and also our well-being. Also, exercising can in fact increase our energy levels. So that's a bonus over Christmas time when we might find that our energy levels are depleted from being so busy. Staying active can also help with stress management, giving you time to sort of take time out and think about what's going on, or also step away and just relieve some of that stress. It can also help to improve your muscle strength and also improve your endurance as well. Staying active can also help to reduce your chance of getting sick or injured. I'm sure we have all fallen to having a winter cold or being ill close to Christmas, but making sure we stay active and also are fueling ourselves correctly with optimal nutrition can help us ward off those winter colds. Exercise can also help lower our risk of developing different diseases, so things like type 2 diabetes, different types of cancers, depression, and also dementia. So, what are the guidelines that we want to be aiming for each week? You might be aware of these, but I just thought I would put them down just in case. So, ideally, we want to be aiming for about 150 minutes of moderate exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise a week. So, to put it in perspective, moderate activity could be things like brisk walks, riding a bike, hiking, dancing to Christmas songs around the Christmas tree, and then vigorous intensity is just raising your heart rate a bit more. So things like running, swimming, playing team sports, so playing football in the park, netball, and also riding your bike quickly or up hills. Next, we want to be trying to do some strength training activities. So this can help to keep our muscles, bones, and joints strong. And we want to be trying to do 2 of these sessions a week. Also, we want to be trying to reduce long periods of sitting down with some activity. Over Christmas, we all enjoy watching Christmas films and sitting on the sofa and relaxing. But if you've been sat down for an hour or so, why don't you get up and take a walk around and just reduce the amount of time that you're sitting in one go? So, just some ideas that you can be doing over this festive period. It's always good to try and keep up with your normal routine, but I just thought I would put some more Christmassy themed ideas here. So, these should all be achievable. So, yoga and Pilates, these are a really good opportunity for people to have a chance to switch off, a bit more relaxing, but does count towards doing activities. Then we've got having a dance around the Christmas tree, so or having a dance to some Christmas songs, little kitchen disco, just enjoying yourself and having a dance around. Again, might seem like a silly thing, but it all counts towards activity. So we don't need to think of activity just as going for a run or going to the gym. It's sort of what can we do that makes it a bit more achievable. What about offering to meet some friends to go for a walk around the park rather than for a festive drink? On Christmas Day or Boxing Day, or in fact any other time in the festive period, could you try and get the whole family out to go for a walk? Nice to get outside and be in nature, but also allows everyone to have time away from screens and again, just get the blood pumping around the body. Christmas, often towns and villages and cities all put up beautiful Christmas lights. So could you either on your own or with some friends or family go and walk around your local town or city and have a look at all the Christmas lights? I know there are some events across the country where they put on lots of Christmas lights and people can sort of pay to walk around these places. I know in London, Kew Gardens do a Christmas at Kew where people can walk around and the lights are all in different shapes and different patterns, and it's quite a nice thing to do. Then lastly, most cities have a Christmas market. So could you go and have a wander around here, look at all the different stalls? Again, it's all about just being active, getting your steps in. So having a look at Christmas markets is a good way of doing this. Next, I have a bit about sleep. So I thought it was interesting that about 1 in 10 adults have admitted to staying up late to watching Christmas films. So whether it's watching films or socializing with friends, which lead you to staying up late, or perhaps shopping for Christmas presents or preparing for the special day, these can all allow us to have less time to wind down in the evenings, and most of us will sleep a bit less over the festive period. So it's important to make sure that we are getting enough sleep. So why is sleep so important? So in general, we spend about a third of our time asleep, and it allows our body and brain the time to rest, restore, and repair itself. It can also help us control our emotions, so allows us to cope better with stress and overall feeling more positive. Sleep deprivation can also increase the risk of being more stressed and also being more anxious and making it more difficult to nod off at night time. So perhaps if you're going to bed late, you're then feeling more stressed in the day, perhaps you're stressed about making sure that you've got everything organized, and then you struggle to get to sleep at night time, and you can end up in this sort of cycle. And it's shown that the cumulative effects of sleep loss and also sleep disorders are associated with a wide range of different health issues. So, this could increase your risk of hypertension, so high blood pressure, obesity, depression, also the risk of having a heart attack as well. So, it's really important that we do try and make time for getting enough sleep. So, ideally, we want to be having about 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. So these are things that you can be doing to try and make sure that you're getting enough sleep. So try and stick to your usual sleep schedule where possible. You can also try and put your worries to bed before you go to bed. So if you're worrying about something, perhaps write it down so that it's not bothering you when you're trying to go to sleep. Also trying to avoid eating too late at night. Ideally, we should be trying to eat about 3 to 4 hours before bedtime, trying to avoid spicy foods as these are a bit harder for our body to digest, and also caffeinated beverages too. I've touched on exercise being good for our mental and physical health on the previous section, but exercise in any form can help to promote a good night's sleep. So, making sure that we get some exposure to natural light as well can help to regulate our body clock. Also, over Christmas, a lot of us have Christmas trees up, and we might have Christmas lights on them. If your lights are on a particularly flashing setting, this can make us feel more awake when we go to sleep. So, can you perhaps change the setting so it's a bit less stimulating, either the light sort of fading in and out or just a constant light? It's little things like that that you think wouldn't really make much of a difference, but if you've got lights flashing at you whilst you're relaxing or watching the TV or reading, it can sort of stimulate your mind to make it feel more awake. Also, a bit of a myth. Lots of people think that they sleep really well after alcohol. So, people might get to sleep quicker after alcohol, but it actually doesn't benefit you, and your quality of sleep is often worse. So, you often don't reach the deeper sleep stages, which is important for all of that restorative function. So, that's just something to be mindful of there if you are drinking alcohol. So, what about having a good bedtime routine? So, it's really important that we make time for ourselves to be able to get enough sleep. So, having a proper wind down routine, I thought having something like a relaxing bath that can allow us time to sort of switch off our minds, get ready for bed, also stimulate the brain to know that it's bedtime. People often like to meditate, so listening to either some calming, relaxing music or doing a meditation. This can help you feel more relaxed. Also, reading as well. So, getting into bed and reading for half an hour has been shown to make people feel a bit more sleepy and ready for bed. So, Christmas is a really busy time, not shying away from that, but it's making sure that we can sort of relax where we can and make sure that we sleep really well when we can, because I'm sure there will be times where you might not get your full 7 or 8 hours, but making sure that that quality of sleep we're having is really important. So then just some takeaway points. So just a bit of a summary. So um, hopefully by eating a varied and balanced diet, we should be able to help support our immune system. So minimize the chances of getting sick and catching that common cold. Also being mindful of high calorie drinks and snacks. So this is really important. We can end up just drinking all of our calories by picking a hot chocolate or perhaps a sugary mocktail. So that's just something to remember. And linked with that, making sure that you maintain your hydration levels. So we're not getting too dehydrated, but we're drinking enough water throughout the day. Also staying active, so even just a little bit of exercise. That picture's dropped down, unfortunately, but that just says underneath it, even a brisk walk, getting out for a brisk walk at lunchtime or in the morning before work. It's just really good to just get ourselves out and enjoy that fresh air. And then also trying to get about 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. But most importantly, it is Christmas and the festive period, so make sure you do enjoy yourselves, be kind to yourselves, enjoy all the festivities that you have going on, and hopefully some of the tips that I've spoken about today you'll be able to apply to make sure that you can fully enjoy the festive period. If I will just come back to the main screen and just see if we have got any questions. If not, you can email us at the email address that's on the screen, and we can see if we can help you with anything. Also, I hope all of you received the 12 Days of Wellness magazine that I sent out on Monday. If you didn't receive this to your inbox, do please drop us a message and I can send this on to you. We've got a few different tips for the festive period, making sure that we enjoy ourselves as much as possible. Thank you very much to everyone for joining. I hope you have a good afternoon and enjoy the festive period. And we will see you again in January, where we will resume our wellness webinars. So thanks again for joining.